Hello and welcome to Pieces of 8. We've been gone for a while, but now we're back and excited to share stories about what's going on around the region. I'm your host, Kenesha Allen. Kicking off our second episode, we highlight what's going on around the region to connect people with nature. And here to join me is Amy Hopperstead of the Stone Lakes National Wildlife Refuge. She's the Visitor Services Manager. Amy, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for coming out. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you. So you guys have quite a few projects going on here that are connecting people with nature, right?
Yes, we do. We're pretty excited about it. We have a lot of neat things going on, such as our new Nature Explorer Playscape, and our Friends group just hosted a Nature Bowl, which is a statewide type of competition for kids.
Okay, awesome. All right, we're going to learn a little bit more about that later, but first, a major car manufacturer awards a Friends group for their efforts. Cindy Sandoval has the story.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Coleman National Fish Hatchery cannot possibly do the environmental outreach that it needs to do without cooperation of the local community, and in particular our volunteers and our Friends group.
The Friends Group's efforts have been so successful they have been recognized by Toyota and awarded the Everyday Capacity Building Grant, a grant aimed at assisting organizations with land stewardship. These funds will help the group continue providing hatchery information, staffing the annual Return of the Salmon Festival, leading tours for school children, providing trail maintenance, as well as many other outreach activities.
We applied for that with the hopes of receiving the grant to get funding to kind of a threefold purposes. One was to create a brochure to help solicit more volunteers. Secondly was for educational purposes to help us in learning how to write grants, more grants to possibly get some more money to do other projects we have here. The last one was also for education in how to just go out into the community and find volunteers.
Like many volunteer groups, the Friends of Coleman are dedicated and passionate, but also small. They are focusing their grant funds on increasing their number of volunteers.
On the days when we have schools with 400, 500, 600 kids coming, we may have, some of us may have 2 tours in one day in order to have an opportunity for all of the children to hear the explanation of the salmon spawning cycle.
The Friends of Coleman will continue to grow with the help of Toyota's grant and hopefully increase their volunteers. The service relies on a collaborative approach to conservation, and Friends groups like these help connect people with America's landscape and wildlife.
Thanks, Cindy, and congratulations to the Friends of Coleman for their good works. So, Amy, speaking of Friends groups, the Nature Bowl that you spoke about earlier is also headed up by a Friends group, right?
Yes, our Friends group headed up this statewide type of competition. It's been around for 27 years, but this is the first time our site has hosted it. It brings in school groups from around the district. Most of them are Title I schools, where the kids come here and compete in a Jeopardy-style competition. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. So up next, John Might is going to tell us a story of a refuge expansion that's set to bridge the gap between 2 conserved lands and eventually the public.
One of the largest conservation land projects in Southern California's recent history was completed last July when the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and its partners unveiled a newly purchased 1,900-acre parcel north of Jamul near San Diego. Valued at nearly $18 million, the undeveloped land became the newest part of the San Diego National Wildlife Refuge, increasing the size of the refuge to more than 11,000 acres. Our partners played a major role in the acquisition. The San Diego Association of Governments contributed $10 million, while the service and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security paid the remaining $8 million. Refuge Manager Jill Terp explains.
Well, this acquisition is just really important for the refuge. There was a huge gap in the heart of the refuge, and that gap is now effectively filled by the Hidden Valley acquisition, which connects refuge lands to each other and then to other conservation lands in the area.
The mostly grassland and coastal sage scrub habitat is also a part of a broader binational effort to maintain backcountry corridors for species to migrate across the U.S.-Mexico border. According to Terp, it also is an important habitat for the endangered rare plant and animal species that live there.
So it supports similar species and habitats to the rest of the refuge, and most importantly for highly endangered species like the Kino checker spot butterfly. The checker spot butterfly was once one of the most common butterflies in Southern California, but because of conversion of land for development and for agriculture, and also because of wildfires and invasive species, a lot of its habitat has been lost or negatively impacted.
The property sits northeast of Mount San Miguel at the heart of the Otay Sweetwater unit of the refuge, and eventually the public will get to enjoy the site.
Our biologists will go out and make some assessments, start some rare species monitoring, no doubt next spring. And we're also looking at a way that we can allow the public out there so that they can get a better appreciation of our amazing biological diversity in San Diego.
With the help of the service and its partners, the refuge will continue to flourish while protecting wildlife and habitat, all while connecting people with nature.
Thanks, John. Now, Amy, part of your job is to bridge the gap between some of the refuge's youngest visitors, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the Playscape project.
The Playscape project is an area based off of Nature Explorer where it will be children 8 and under can do a hands-on exploratory with objects and dig and build things, and where parents can actually keep an eye on them and just let them go free.
Okay, sounds like a pretty exciting project.
Yeah.
So up next, Michael Woodbridge is going to tell us the story about a service employee who was awarded for her use of technology.
Connecting people with nature can be a challenge in highly urbanized areas like the San Francisco Bay. Carmen Minch, an outdoor recreation planner at the San Francisco Bay National Wildlife Refuge Complex, is meeting this challenge by bridging the gap between the digital world and the natural world.
I really believe that in order for the public to really understand and appreciate national wildlife refuges, that they need to experience it firsthand. So I'm always trying to find ways, new ways for them to get out here, the non-traditional audience, if you will, to come out here.
Since she joined the Fish and Wildlife Service nearly 20 years ago, Carmen has worked at multiple refuges in Region 8. Today, she's pioneering the use of technology and interpretive and recreational programs on refuges, including GPS technology, social media, QR code projects, touchscreen exhibits, and partnering with outdoor retailer REI and iNaturalist.org to reach new and diverse audiences.
Being in an urban area is that there are a lot of groups and organizations that are interested in what we do, interested in the refuge and interested in our mission. And so some of the partners we worked with, our most notable one is our friends group, the San Francisco Bay Wild Society. They've funded quite a bit of our projects that otherwise wouldn't get off the ground.
Last year, the Fish and Wildlife Service and American Recreation Coalition recognized Carmen with the Beacon Award for her creative use of technologies to connect people to nature. The American Recreation Coalition, a nonprofit that works to enhance and protect outdoor recreation opportunities, has presented Beacon Awards for innovative use of technology in visitor services through recreation management. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is working to conserve wildlife and improve Americans' connection with nature on national wildlife refuges and other public lands. It's good to know we have people like Carmen Minch leading the way.
Thanks, Michael, and congratulations to Carmen on her accomplishment. And thank you, Amy, for joining us. We're excited to see what else Stone Lakes is doing to connect people with nature.
Thanks, Kanisha.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us. For more on these stories, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Until next time, keep conserving.